Well, I guess I need to interrupt you guys and maybe get this meeting kicked off and see if I can miss the ball like Lucy pulled it away from Charlie Brown here. Let's see. Well, I want to introduce myself. I don't see any new people on the screen here, so I don't think we have any visitors. But I'll introduce myself anyway. I'm Warren Shank, and you made the dubious thing to make me president last month, so here I am. I'm not a speaker. My voice will probably give out by about an hour from now, and somebody else can talk. But I was raised in Mendota Heights. Right now I live in Eden Prairie. We got 3 kids and 8 grandchildren with another one on the way.
Wow, fun.
And I retired in 2012. And my good buddy, John Engler, who's on the middle of the screen here, is the reason I'm sitting here talking to you. He got me interested in, when I retired, to get me going on scroll sawing. So I'm really glad he did. And has really filled my life, especially in the winter months. And in the summertime, I like to golf. Yesterday was played my first 9 holes of the season, and it was good. A little breezy, a little cool, but it was good to be out. So that's enough about me. I want to thank Gary for his tremendous contributions for the last 4 years working the club, and we made a lot of big strides in those years. I'm certain several of you never had a president without Gary, but that's, things have to change, and I don't want to be here talking to you 4 years from now in this position. Somebody else can pick up the mantle before that, I hope. One of my goals is to start finding out who's going to be my replacement. But I will stick with the job for 2 years if I can, and go from there. So I guess we can jump into the our reports. Now, for the secretary's report, there's been some discussion about that. We know that Carol Dad is now doing our minutes for our meetings and putting those out as published in the newsletter by Katie. So well done. And we'll talk about that a little bit more. But we have hopefully all seen the newsletter and read through it. And if there's any objections, I think we should approve the minutes as they are in the newsletter for now. Is there a motion?
I make a motion to accept them.
Second?
All right.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Great. And now we can move on to the treasurer's report, and Mr. Engler can talk.
Hi, everyone. We did have an audit. Nancy Engler did the audit of the books from last year, and everything looked good. It's an easy audit because there was only 4 checks written in all of last year and not many deposits. So everything looked good there to support the books. We started off with $1,350.38. And we had as you know, we voted last month to give Katie some postage money and a gift. So that was $155 altogether. So we currently have $1,195.38 plus $35 in petty cash. I know a check got sent to Warren for dues. Is that the only thing you got, Warren?
Yeah, Phil sent his dues in dutifully.
So we have another $20, but we haven't got it on the bank yet. So So
Okay.
anyway, that's it. That's it.
Oh, thanks. Thanks, John. Yeah, I want to thank Nancy for doing the audit. I know Roger was signed up to do it, but Nancy was so convenient and so well trained in this area that instead of running the stuff up north to the north side of town and back or whatever, I was just able to hand it to John and he let Nancy do it because that's her background in accounting. So I want to thank Nancy for doing that. So you pass that word on to Nancy for me, John.
All right.
Okay. So now we can do our reports on TLC toys if Gary could do that for us.
Well, several people, about, well, 5 people, including myself, were very busy for the month of March. And the people that did this was Roger and Dale Kilm, Fred Flanagan, and John Engler. We did 387 cars for March. So for year to date on the cars, we have 748. And then for the assisted living, memory care facilities, we got those items, which include all those little ones and the big, small angels, little angels, rabbits, and we added some bigger teddy bears, clover leaves. I made a horse, a horse that's with a 1/2 inch wood. And then we also have the word art where we say it says peace and 2 doves on the side, which is also 1/2 inch with the cedar. Made several of those, kind of waiting to get feedback on that. In the meantime, John Engler did a number of items that are a little bit different than we've been getting. One of them that was really beautiful is a rocking horse. So I'm waiting to get feedback on that one. I bought the Patrick Spielman book so that I wouldn't copyright and I could make the rocking horses where John got it from. And I've been starting to make some of those rocking horses here in this week. So for March, we have 572 of these assisted living memory care items. And for year to date, we have 895. So wow, things are really looking good. Hopefully we could get more people doing some more cutting. I have more Baltic birch plywood. Just speak up and you can have it. And if you want to get involved in cutting, if you're not doing it, let me know. We can give you templates and patterns and give you wood. And if you're currently cutting, I want to thank you very much. I know the people, the kids and the seniors appreciate that. Thank you.
All right. Thanks for that, Gary. Yeah, I want to just echo what Gary just said about getting involved in. I haven't been doing much myself lately on that. I have in the past, but I want to get cutting more on that as my personal projects have taken the forefront here for a while. Go to our old business. Well, we completed our elections last month, thanks to all those who are offered to serve and in office right now. And I wanted to talk about, let's see, our broken or bent saw blades here. Good to see Bill and Jean there. Bill and Jill, sorry, Dean. So yeah, it's good to see you too, Jill. And I know you went through quite a bit of strife there for a while. I talked to Bill a little bit yesterday on the phone, and he said you guys were in the ICU for 25, 22 days, something like that. I mean, that's got to be tough. And Bill, you told me about how your boys couldn't, they took it like that's got to be very scary for them. Besides yourselves, not even be able to come and see you at that time, probably. And so that's good to see you back anyway. We're also been trying to follow Jim Ryan's health lately. I don't know if there's any updates on Jim. but we're thinking about him, of course. So one thing I wanted to talk again about secretary's meeting minutes. And Gary brought up some issues about how we handle those minutes. Right now, we talked about the archiving of the minutes, and I had I think probably most of the minutes dating back to 2009. And I found those in some different directories I have on my computer here. And I gathered those all together and I put them on this CD right here. So that's one archive. Of course, they're all my computer and they're on a backup drive that I also have. So I don't know if anybody has any suggestions on what else we can do to make those more secure and keep adding to the archive. I'm not an expert in doing that kind of stuff, but I do have, I think most of it. I don't know if there's anybody that wants to take that on and put that all together. With the silence.
Warren, a comment, seeing that you have all of that, that's fantastic. As an interim, I would suggest putting them on a USB flash drive and put it into the president's box that I gave you there. At least then we've got 11 years of it on a flash drive. And right now CDs and DVDs are kind of becoming obsolete, but right now the USB flash drive is kind of the current thing. And at least if you put it in the president's box, that's one thing. And you can put it other places as well, but at least that's one thing.
Yeah.
Since I get the final copy of the minutes, I'd be happy to archive it and each year give it to the president.
Yeah, I can do that, Gary. Yeah, I was going back and forth between the USB drive and a CD, and you can always get an external CD reader that you could plug in too. So that's why I went to that. But we can get a USB and put it all on that too as well.
Warren, do you know if there are any missing minutes?
No, like I said, I haven't gone through to see if there are any missing minutes. That's something I don't know exactly how to I mean, going through each directory and looking month by month to see if there's something there for each month. I know there's quite a few files there, so, but it can be done.
Warren, I think I had an archive of minutes going back a number of years before that, I believe, someplace. Now, I'll see if I can find it.
Because they were on the website.
Yeah, they were on the website, exactly.
And you can put them on the website and keep them hidden except for members.
And I can't remember if I thought you could see them though.
Oh yeah, we could.
Yeah, and I think those go back to what, about the second or third year or so. But
I did see some for 2009 on there, so that's about as far back as we can go.
Yep.
Okay, maybe that was it.
Okay, well, we can put it, if you can get those put on the website, or they already are there, then to I don't know, to have those. Mike, you gotta.
One question, are we talking meeting minutes, or are we talking the newsletters that Katie sends out? Because I've never seen anything about the board's meeting minutes in places.
Okay, now you're talking about board meetings. Okay.
No, the actual meeting minutes.
We're
Used
talking
to
about monthly member meetings.
monthly member meeting minutes used to be put on the website every month.
But do the members generally get anything about the board meetings?
Yes, they were there too.
They're included there?
They were. I don't know
Okay.
if they still are.
Well, I've got some going back to 2011 of the newsletters. So if you're missing some, you might check with what I've got.
The newsletters are all there.
Okay.
Does anyone remember when our very first meeting took place? I was there, but I'll be
That
darned.
was like 10 years ago, wasn't
It
it?
was 2009.
It was 09?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm sure there's probably a couple of years of minutes that are probably not there.
What
Well, I've
vendor
got-
is the
I've-
website?
I think I've got most of those early ones in I printed them out and kept them, but, so I've got
What-
a lot of that too.
What did you say, Don?
What vendor or who hosts our website?
Google?
Well,
Google Sites.
Well, then that's probably as good a backup cloud storage as you're gonna probably find from a reliability standpoint. As long as nobody goes in and deletes the website. I mean, I'm sure they back up the website out there, don't they?
They do. That's, I've got it on automatic renewal. There's a small fee each year, which I've paid for. So it's, and as long as we're automatically back, keeping up the dues, we're good.
Yeah, that's probably as good a storage as as good a backup as you're gonna get. I mean.
Oh, yeah. Yeah,
Well,
I just checked and they do go back to March 29 or 2000.
Well, Warren, perhaps it'd be a good idea if a few of us were to take your copy of all those minutes and just store them on our computers and maybe a backup. And then that way, if there's 4 or 5 of us that have it, not all of us are going to lose it at the same time.
Right. It sounds like we should put it on the website in that form, and then we have it there on a backup.
well,
And then
my
What is it?
I could download it, right?
Should be able to. I
Or
think.
you
You
could
should
send
be
it to
able
me
to.
if you
You
wanted.
should be able to.
my question in regards to the website, I guess I'd have to go back and look. I've never put on any minutes on there myself. I've been doing the newsletter and keeping it up to date, but I'm not sure where there's even any minutes on the website. But my concern would be, do we want the minutes to go on our website so that everybody in the world can see our minutes? I question that. If Katie mentioned that you could maybe members only, but I don't know how complicated that would be to do that. But I don't think we want our minutes to share on our website with the world.
I would agree with that.
I agree.
Yep. Mhm.
Okay.
Read,
Wasting time.
what does it cost to do for the website hosting?
I haven't looked at them in a while, but it's I don't know, $10 or $15 a year.
Okay, we should reimburse Reed for that cost.
Well, I can just use that for prepayment of dues or something.
We can credit you, yeah. Okay,
But in regards to the minutes, as to how to move forward, Mike, he talked about the wood carvers and so forth, that you publish the minutes and they're out there and people can, the people can access them that are members. Can we,
Shut up.
can we do something like that? Jeff, you got a problem there?
The one thing,
Jeff, I wish you'd get more respect to the rest of the club here.
this discussion is going on a little long. I understand Jeff's, it might be a little bit frustrated with that, but we can take this offline a little bit and talk about it further as more details. Maybe we need to
Good point.
finish on. So, but Jeff, I would appreciate your respect to hear through it. You don't have to make comments like that. Let's I will take that on to put this together, and I'll ask for the help of Gary and Reed and maybe John, anybody else, Katie McBride, of course, and then we'll take it from there. We also, on the same subject, is how we approve our minutes, like we just did a little while ago. I don't see any reason to change how we're doing it, but that's my opinion. We have been doing this for quite a few years to have Katie put it out on the newsletter. And if you see anything there that when you're reading it, you should bring it up at the next meeting that you have questions on what's the content there. And if that's okay, I think we could keep it as is. That's my opinion.
I agree.
Okay. Should we have a motion then to keep the minutes being approved through the newsletter publication going forward?
So moved.
So moved.
Okay, all in favor of that?
Aye.
Okay. Any dissent?
Oh, you got asked if you want one opposed. I oppose.
Okay. So we have one dissension here. More discussion on that? Or maybe the discussion should be over now. Okay, thanks. All right, it passed, and that's what we're gonna be doing that for now. Move on here. We new business. I heard somebody talking about membership cards last year, and they want to get their club discount. And since we haven't been collecting dues and getting our membership cards out to anybody, if somebody is in need of a card to show their proof of membership when they're going out to Rockler or Woodcraft or wherever we have our discounts, I suggest that we can have cards sent to the individuals who are requesting them. Otherwise, we won't just do a broadcast mailing to everybody. So how does everybody feel about that?
I've still got my card, so that would be fine.
Yeah.
I have the bar card too, so.
I don't know if anybody ever checks if the vendors ever check our dates on our cards. But if you
I
have,
would think most of them would honor it anyway because of what the past year has been.
yeah, I'm sure they would. If anybody runs into a problem, we can certainly solve that problem just mailing you a card.
Technically, we're supposed to check, for a card and stuff. Oftentimes, if I know somebody's, I know you guys are in the club, I can short circuit it, but sometimes it's not me waiting on you. So.
Right.
Most places, when I've told them I was a member of the club, they just say, okay, and you got your discount out.
I don't think there'll be a big problem, but I just want to bring that up if anybody has a problem with that. Okay. Also in new business, John Engler has asked me to give him some time about something he wants to offer the club.
Yeah, I've been thinking for the last year, but of course, last year we couldn't do anything, doing some kind of an Intarsia workshop. And I was thinking in June, but that's too early. I think now maybe this fall, and maybe that's to go into next year. But what I'm planning to do, kind of looking at my notes here, but looking to see today if there's any interest, and maybe Katie can throw something in the newsletter too about it. But the plan would be to do more of a workshop rather than normal, where you just get a plan, you build it, and we get together and build it. I want to do more, between my workshop and garage. I'd say 3 to 5 hours long, maybe a short overview of Intarsia. I've got some old PowerPoints of my own and from Swede and from Judy Gill Robert. Actually, we'll put something together there. Then some demonstrations and discussion. I'd like the people to bring completed projects, partially completed projects, or projects they haven't even started yet, want some direction. I think Katie said she'd be help with this. If somebody's really new and wanting to get started before the workshop, we would help them get started there. So just been kind of brainstorming, doing something for Intarge. We haven't done anything really, and gosh, I don't know how long. And there's always some interest, although it seems like the club goes in, you know, some years there's more Intarge people, and some there's more other kinds of things. So is there any comments out there? Anybody interested?
We're looking, level of interest.
Yeah.
I think it sounds nice to liven things up and you do something like that, you know, just to get interest sparked again.
I don't see any, I don't think there'd be any cost to it either. There wouldn't really be any, you know, be just a free little workshop. So
We're talking 6 or 7 people at a time,
Yeah.
right?
or less. We could do
If-
it for 1 or 2 if
That's
that's all there. But
Hey, John,
yeah.
what if we, you know, this year is going to be the year at the state fair that we offer an Intarge blue ribbon. I'm thinking maybe we could, as a promotion for the club, I'm not sure they'd let us do this. But I was thinking offering up a little class there along with the blue ribbon for any new members. You know, so it'd be kind of like if we got some new members, if they wanted to come in and have an Intarge class too, along with the new membership. I don't know if you'd be, you know, that wouldn't be people you knew, but to see
That'd be
what kind of
fine.
interest we could get of people who might sign up. I mean,
From the last I knew, when the last time we had a display out to the state fair, they were never going to have us back. That was whoever was running it at the time. I don't know why, the whole story, why they decided that, but I assume there was somebody else wanted the space, and that's, you know.
yeah, well, I wasn't in the club then, so I'm not gonna.
I know, I
ignore
realize
that.
that. I totally realize that, but I think from the state fair, and the other thing, we wouldn't be able to open it to members. We'd have to open it to anybody that wants to sit in.
No, I don't mean during the fair.
Oh, use the space at the state fair? Is that what you're saying?
No, just have it.
As part of the award.
They
as
get
part
a
of the-
certificate.
Oh,
They get-
I get you. I
get a
misunderstood.
certificate
But as
to
far
come
as
to us.
having it actually at the state fair, it's a
Oh.
great idea, but I don't think the state fair would let you do it to just members. It'd have to be open to everybody.
I don't see anything wrong with that, Don. We can talk about that. You're talking
Board meeting.
about just giving whoever wins it,
Yeah.
they could come to a
Okay, I
workshop or
get you.
something. Anybody, I don't know, anybody else interested in doing anything like that, or is
Do you
it,
want to have people raise hands if they're interested?
Sure, you know, if you're interested, let me know and I'll
See
get,
if I can
you
figure
know,
out how
I'd
to
like
do
to.
that.
I saw
Well,
one
just
hand,
say
2
your name.
hands.
I see Roger, Reed, John.
What? Yeah.
No.
Warren,
Have too many other
All right,
things to do.
all right.
if you'll take a beginner.
John Carlson, yeah.
Yeah,
So
with
that's
me,
enough.
I'm a
That's enough
total
to make it a
beginner,
goal.
so-
Yeah.
I'll
Right,
volunteer,
John.
but I don't know where to raise my hand.
Well, I'm hoping we do get a range of beginners to experts, because as we discuss each project, you'll be a good learning experience for everybody. And so, you know, just seeing what people do, and it would kind of critique each thing and kind of help give direction. I think it'd be kind of a fun little day, but so we'll put some in the newsletter, get back to me. I'll get a hold of you on the phone too. I don't like just doing things on the internet, and kind of to see what your interests are, and maybe we'll put something together. I guess we'll kind of direct this, if we can all get together or not by the next few months.
All right, John, that's great. Thanks for offering that.
Yeah.
John and Katie, could we make a program out of that with some film and,
Absolutely.
yeah.
Yeah.
When are we going to meet? Or you mean,
Well, when you're
program on
doing this,
Zoom?
film
Oh, okay,
some
I
of that.
gotcha.
Yeah,
Sure.
with the participants, and that'd be great. we'll use that as a future program.
Jill has a question. You have to unmute yourself though, Jill.
I think she just raised her hand for interest in.
Oh, okay.
Who did? Jill?
Yeah,
Jill,
Jill, yeah. I just raised my hand for interest in the internship
Okay,
program.
Great.
thank you.
Chris asked a question. Chris, do you have reactions at the
Oh,
bottom?
Okay, didn't know how to raise my hand.
Did you find it?
No, but I mean.
But I got you.
Thank you.
Okay,
We got it the old fashioned way.
yeah, that works.
Thank you.
Okay, I just wanted to run through a quick list in the new, since we're in new business, it's a lot of old business for me, I guess. But I want to have some goals for my tenure here. I want to really push on the charitable initiatives that we're already doing, to the senior homes. If we can even go into some more areas like Phil has done, fire departments. If anybody wants to take that on their own, or with some club backing, like we have been doing with TLC, I'm all in favor of that. And you were just talking about the state fair. I have that on my list. I was wondering if we should approach the state fair people again, and should we ask to see if we could do our booth again? We only had it for 2 days out of the fair in the past, and I always thought it was great, but we didn't really get maybe a lot of members coming from that, but I still had a good time attending and spending some time there and seeing the other things that were there. So I just want to put that out. If we, just asking, I don't know, Don, if you would want to do that on our behalf.
I'd be glad to start.
Okay.
Warren, part of that
Yeah.
deal with us not getting back into the state fair, I did try. The reason they gave me was they wanted demonstrations. So we'd have to bring in a scroll saw, and for the 2 days that we were there, it'd be kind of and they want demonstration and have classes where people could sit and watch and learn what we're doing. I'm down into the into the building.
Yeah.
I mean,
Well,
that's the.
Well, we've done it at the Maker Fair,
Right.
And we've done it some other.
But you didn't
too.
have
So I think
100,000,
we-
200,000 people there either.
Right. But it out of the question. I mean, there's probably some things to overcome, but I think it's worth
Okay.
asking, and let's see what we can do. Other things maybe in that same line is, I don't know about county fairs, if people want to get involved in there. I know John has done some things at the Scott County Fair. He's entered in some of his stuff there and had some success. And if there's some interest in doing that at that level, that's another thing, just an idea. Of course, Scout leader training is something that we've done. I don't know if that's going to be able to come back this year or not. Katie, have you heard anything? Or is for clubs initiatives, that's all. I'm open to a lot of ideas for anything else going on there.
Yeah,
Well, I think
I've not heard from anyone, any of the Girl Scout people.
Okay.
I think till things open up as COVID wise, I don't think there's going to be pretty much anything we can do.
Right.
I have something.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
I had talked to the disabled veterans camp out here in Marine on St. Croix, and they'd be interested in having us out like on a Saturday or even a weekday. They have a lot of disabled veterans out there, and they'd love to have us come out on a Saturday for an afternoon or something and put on a demonstration, kind of like a mini makers fair, where all the little kids could come around and see what we're doing and stuff like that. And some of the retired vets and stuff like that, and disabled vet. So I've been, COVID hit and I just let
Oh.
that drop. But I'd like to kind of pursue that with them and maybe with the club to try and
What's the
get a
venue?
couple dates.
Oh, excuse me. What's the venue like at that? Do they have a place where we could do that? I mean, obviously.
It's a covered picnic area, you know, so it's like cement base.
Okay.
It's open sided,
Yeah.
but it has a big roof on it. So you could, if it was really raining, we could sit right square in the middle of it and not have any rain come in on us, but
Are they currently
Um,
meeting, Don? Are they
What?
currently meeting? I mean, are they doing meetings at this facility right now? I mean, as far as during the COVID thing?
it's a campground, Jeff. They have permanent camp.
Okay.
Facilities for trailers and things for disabled vets, and
I see.
they have cabins. I mean, it's like a little resort.
He's just wondering.
Yeah,
if-
I get it, but I'm just saying, is it currently open? That's what I meant.
They were open last year.
Okay, that's all I was curious about.
Yeah.
Because I know our fishing group, we wanted to go a couple places and we had to switch what we were doing because they were closed down.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
That's why I was asking.
yeah, they had, I couldn't see how we could do it without, and maintain a 6 feet distance.
Yeah,
So-
see that, well, that's it. That's kind of what I was
Right.
getting at, but yeah.
Okay, so I guess along those same lines, we have to look for our own place where we're going to be able to meet hopefully later on this year. Mike, I know you got some information coming back from Creekside. Can you want to share that with us?
Yeah, I just got an email yesterday from Joe Murphy over at Creekside, and they're looking at opening up on a limited basis, from what I could tell, maybe in the middle of June or around July 4th, to some of the clubs that they had. And so we'll have to monitor that, but they're having meetings and they're looking forward. So since a lot of the seniors have already been vaccinated, it's kind of looking like maybe this fall we might be able to have our meetings again. It's not in stone, but at least we can look forward to that. So I'll try to keep in touch there as much as possible. But it was good to hear from her, and I had sent her an email about a month ago asking for an update, and she said she didn't get back to me because she didn't really have anything, but finally things are starting to move along.
Okay. Well, thanks for that. I did notice in your conversation there with her that right now everybody'd have to keep 6 feet apart and we'd never get 30 people in a classroom again.
Yeah.
So we'd
Warren?
Yeah.
Do we want to look for a bigger space?
Well, we're always open to that. I mean, especially when we don't know where we're going to end up here. So, yes.
I'm just throwing that out there. I mean, it would be nice because it gets pretty tight in there.
Oh, I don't disagree. It was, nothing's perfect. So we got a place for free and we were able to use it as is. So we're happy to be there, I know, but if we can find a larger place for free, that would be great. I mean, we're always open to that, right, guys? I mean,
well, yeah.
And how many of our members have not been vaccinated yet? Has everybody pretty much been vaccinated?
Yep.
I've had my
Everybody?
first shot. I've got the April 13th, I'll get my second one.
Okay.
I've got both of mine.
I was one and done.
I have one more to go.
Okay.
I've gotten
So I
both
think-
of mine.
Well, it looks pretty good. Looks like most of us have gotten it. So I think we'll be ready to go as soon as they decide we can open up. Then I think we could be less than 6 feet apart because things will probably be, by that time, the governor will say, okay, you can have meetings if you're vaccinated. And so it'll be okay.
yeah, we'll have to cross those bridges when we
Yeah.
get there that far and make another judgment on that. But
Yep.
also, we can keep our eyes open if there's, some other venue that works for us.
Yep.
Okay, I guess now I am ready to go on to our speaker for the day, or have our presentation. So again, Mike.
Okay. All right. Well, I had some video left over from my first go at this. And so I wanted to combine that with a couple other topics like the planer and the jointer. And so Steve Harder agreed to do a section on that too. So with that, we'll start with our video for the day. Share screen. Oops. Let's go back to share screen. Share sound. Let me know if this is working. If you're going to use a table saw safely, you need to have some push sticks. Now, I saw on YouTube one day, I was surfing through, this fella had a push stick with this ingenious handle on it. And it's exactly the same as anything off of a saw that you'd have in your garage, and that's what makes it such a good idea. You just mark this out on a board, and you've got yourself a push stick. And I thought it was such a good idea that I came out the next day and made 3 of them. This one's a narrow one. This one's a 3/4 inch. I use that probably the most. And then a wider one for wider boards. It has a little cleat on the bottom to push the board through. And so this keeps your hand well away, it's safe. You can push down, but your hand is not in danger. So between that and this little one, your hands are well away from the work and safe. Something we should talk about when it comes to table saw safety is kickback. Now, kickback normally occurs when something gets caught between the blade and the fence. And now normally kickback would be more of a problem with thinner material. So if your piece was 3/4 of an inch thick, it'd be more dangerous than 4 inches wide. And normally it would just kick back and come out this direction and hit you kind of low. That's not good, but it wouldn't be quite as much of a problem normally. And I had an instance a couple of years ago where I was cutting this composite decking material. Now it cuts pretty well, but it's soft. And now my saw, the motor back here sticks out about 1 foot. So you can't get one of your support stands back there to catch the material as easily as you'd like it to. It's just the motor's in the way. So I didn't deal with it and didn't deal with it. And finally I was working on this piece and I pushed it through, got it out here, this area, and you only have about 4 inches to work with where you have about a good foot up front. And so it's dangling up here and somehow it came back, got a hold of the saw, flipped that thing around, and you can see where it put quite a gash in the piece of material. Flipped that out, hit me in the chest, about mid-chest. And boy, let me tell you, that'll get your attention in a hurry. So I shut the saw off and started to feel around and see how much damage was done. I didn't think I'd broken a rib, but it certainly could have. And then I decided, well, maybe I better look at it. So I pulled up my shirt. Well, I didn't see any blood coming down, so that was good. It didn't break the skin. But I had a big spot about 1.5 inches in diameter that I knew was going to get pretty sore. So it was sore for probably 1.5 weeks or 2. But I consider myself lucky because this thing could have flipped up and hit me in the face, and that would have been serious. Could have really done almost anything to damage to your face, up to and including probably kill a guy if it hit you in the wrong spot. So I figured I was lucky, but in any case, I decided I'd better get out here and fix this. So I decided that I would make an outfeed shelf so that when I fed something through, it could slide on out and set there. So I didn't have to try to balance something because this saw is just designed with only a small amount of runout area. So I made that, and it's worked real good ever since. Also, you could use your safety fence or safety guard, and it's always kind of in the way, or at least on this saw. I know some of them have a riving knife, they call it, or riving knife, whichever way it's pronounced, that fits up over the blade. I would like to put one on here, but there just isn't room for it. But in any case, if you do notice something like that, a problem with your saw or one of your other pieces of equipment, and it bothers you and you don't think it's safe, get right on it and fix that right away. You just shouldn't put it off, and your safety is worth more important than that. We also have a few other things that you can make for your table saw to help you work easier. One of them that I really like is the slide, and this gives you a good straight 90-degree cutoff, perpendicular. It'll be straight, your corners are straight. You can put a square on it and it'll be square. So that works real nice. I also made a 45-degree angle slide, and that fits in here, and you can clamp something up here and put a 45 on it. So that's been kind of a handy little item too. Another item that I have, most people wouldn't have, but I do find it handy every once in a while, is a 2-inch dial indicator. As you push on it, it goes around, and each revolution is 100 thousandths. So I'd put that up against the fence, adjust it to 0, and then if I want to move it, just tap on the fence. If you want to move it 10 thousandths or 20 thousandths, whatever, 30 thousandths, you can do it. So that's a good way to get a real accurate cut. Not something that everybody would have or even worth going out to get, but if you really wanted an accurate cut, that would do it. Now we come to the bandsaw. This is a versatile piece of equipment. It'll allow you to make straight cuts, and more importantly, it'll allow you to make a curved cut. So you can cut a round object and any kind of curve that you'd like down to, a certain radius depending on the width of the blade. I tend to like the 1/4-inch blade. It's a good compromise between a straight cut and a curved cut. Now when you set up your saw, probably the most important thing is to make sure that your saw blade is perpendicular to your cutting table, just like we would on the scroll saw. So we use the same trick that Swede always taught us, and that was to cut a piece with a line in it. And I cut one and I marked it 90 degrees, and I just keep it handy. And so whenever I want to reset my saw, I bring it up behind the blade. If it fits in, you're 90. If it's not, then you can adjust it. The bandsaw is a lot safer than the table saw for a couple of reasons. Number one, your blade is a lot smaller. And number two, as it turns, it is holding your piece down to the work surface rather than trying to push it out at you. So that in itself makes it a lot safer than a table saw. Don't forget to adjust your height on your table saw depending on the thickness of the piece you're cutting, and that will keep your fingers away from it too. So that's a good safety recommendation. I've also made a couple of, this one is a 45-degree guide, so you can cut something at a 45 just by sliding it in and out. Another jig I made is this one that will help you make a round circle. So you would double back tape your piece to the top after you'd cut it roughly to a circular shape, maybe 1/8 of an inch bigger than the finished size. This piece fits on this stub sticking up, 1/4 inch stub. You put that on there with your piece on top, bring it up to where it starts to touch, and then just keep turning it in a circle and cut off a little bit at a time. Move it in a little bit more, and eventually you'll get there and you'll have a nice round piece. So I thought that was cool, cutting a circle on a saw. This particular saw is a 14-inch Delta saw, and it's a single speed, and 14 inches means that the throat or the blade would be 14 inches from the left side of the saw, so you could get an object 14 inches roughly between there. So that's the capacity of the saw. And this saw also has a rolling base on it, the stand that you can put a foot pedal up or down to lock it in position. And that way I can roll it in and out in my garage, because I have to move all my tools off to the side when I'm done to get the cars back in. So that's a handy thing to have. Next, we come to the miter saw. I happen to have a DeWalt 12-inch, and I set this on another table that I built with wheels under it. And you can see that down here there's lots of storage. So I've got various squares and clamps and things and jigs, more jigs. And here are some saw blades for the bandsaw. So that's where I keep some of that stuff. The miter saw is handy for making various different angled cuts. And the miter saw comes with a base that has detents on it, so it is set from 0 to 15, 22.5, the more common angles you might set your saw to. I tend to use 30 degrees, which doesn't have a detent, so you have to set that yourself. And anyway, it pays to check your work, because one day I was out here and I was cutting my different pieces of wood, walnut, maple, and cherry, and cutting them into the diamonds that form the pieces that go into these hexes that eventually get glued up into a cutting board, my 3D cutting boards. So when I found I was gluing them together, I found there were spaces right in the middle that I had to fill in with glue, and I thought, well, gosh, I set it to 30 degrees. Well, apparently the zinc inspection department didn't catch that, so I had to bring all 200 of those pieces back out. I reset the angle on the saw, and then I cut 3 more pieces like that, cut them off, and then put all 3 together. And when I got done, now they were tight. So I knew I was right on, but I was maybe a 1/2 degree off. So it pays to check your work before you put everything away. You can save yourself a lot of time. So in order to fix my pieces, I had them all lined up here, and I had to run each one through on all 4 sides to shave just a few thousandths off so that they would fit good. So I'd put each one in, cut it off, flip it around, and do all 4 sides. But at least when I got done, they were all the way they should be at the proper angle, and when I fit all 3 together, they fit nice and tight. So it pays to double check your work. If you're in doubt, stop and check it out.
Okay, today we'll be looking at the jointer and planer, 2 machines that are very helpful in the woodworking shop. And we will start by looking at this machine, which is called a jointer here in the United States. And in Europe, often they'll call this a planer. And the other machine we're looking at, they'll call a thicknesser. And I think this is a little bit confusing, because some people, when they think of a jointer, they just think of doing the edge of the board. Well, this is really to get one side, one face of your board flat, and then also get the other edge square to that. Because if you just stick a board in the thickness planer, and it's not, the sides aren't, one side isn't flat, you won't get equal thickness all the way across. So it's really good to use both together. So I just want to show you a few things here on setting up the jointer. First of all, you have, this side is the in-feed table, and this is the out-feed table. And there are adjustments here on both sides, one there for the in-feed and over here for the out-feed. And first of all, you want to make sure that the out-feed table is at the level of the blade, where the blade is cutting, because you don't want it lower than the blade. So you just want to measure and make sure that that's right where the blade is hitting the straight edge there. And the second important thing to do is to have a good square, and you want to check right here at the outfeed table and make sure that your fence is absolutely square to that outfeed table. So that's two very important things to do. And then the jointer has various uses, like I said, and probably many of you don't use rough lumber. I use a lot of rough lumber that is rough on all four sides, actually. And so when you're looking at a board like that, that's here. So you might have a board that looks something like this. I don't know if you can see that, but it's very cupped here. And you know, a board this wide, to get rid of a lot of that cupping, you'd want to cut it first. But some narrower boards that have a smaller amount of cupping, you can take care of that here on the planer, on the jointer. And so what you want to do is you want to put your cupped part down and to square off those lower edges until the whole board gets flat. So I have these are these red rubber floats that I got over at Lowe's. And these are kind of spongy on the bottom, so they work very well for pushing the board safely through. So you want to just line your board up there, and when you put pressure on that, you want most of the pressure to be right here at the outfeed. And be careful that you're not, don't let the board bounce. You want it to hold it down on that blade. So after you've gotten the one side nice and smooth, then you can put it on here and run it through and get a perfectly square edge to your board. And then you're ready to go up to the planer. So again, we're looking at snipe on a board here. When you're cutting the board, you want to make sure that the outfeed table here is at the height of the cutter so that it won't dig into your board. And then you want to make sure that when you're pushing that board through, you keep your pressure on the outfeed table as you're pushing it through. Can't do it when it's not cutting, but you keep that pressure down on there. It keeps this end up and will keep from cutting into the end of the board. So we'll be looking at snipe at the end of a board here, and this is an example of that. The right end of the board, you can see a line there showing that the cutter has cut too deep and created this snipe. So here we've got a close-up of a board which will show you that there's snipe here on this board. We need to hold pressure on the far end of the board here to prevent that, but you can see right in this area that the blade did cut in there and cause snipe on that board. Okay, now we are going to be looking at the thickness planer. This is a machine you can use to make your boards thinner and to the thickness that you want, or to get several boards down to the exact same thickness if you're gluing together boards. And this again has some good uses for scroll saws, because sometimes you might get stock in the store that's just a little too thick for your purposes in cutting, and you want it to size that down. So this is the perfect tool for that. So the basic parts of the thickness planer are the bed down here, and above that is a cutter. The cutter is in the middle in there, and it's about, I don't know, about 2.5 inches around. And then on either side of that, spaced 6 inches apart, are 2 rollers. The rollers pull the board through. And then you have a locking mechanism here that locks the cutter in place, and a crank to raise or lower the cutter. So before you put your wood in here, you want to make sure you have one side of that board that is absolutely flat, because you really can't put in wood that's not even on both sides, because it won't come out correct. If you want a nice board with parallel sides, you've got to have that one face flat first. This isn't meant to correct cupping or any other misshaping of the board. So what you need to do then is, when you get your board, if you know about what size it is, you measure the size, and you can look at the scale here on the side of the machine, and then make sure it's unlocked, and then you turn it in this direction to lower it, watching the gauge here until you get down to, say you're doing 3/4 inch board, you want to bring it just to about that place, and then you can set your board, and then you lock it in place with this, and then you turn the machine on, and you set your board here on the table and run it in, and the rollers will just pull it through usually. If it needs a little help, a push stick here, you can help push that through if you need to. If you're doing a series of boards, it's helpful to have those all of them ready to go, because then when you're feeding them in, you can use the next board to push the first one through, and that can help avoid getting snipe on the board ahead of it. So that's a good thing, to just have everything ready to go. Also, this cutter, the cutter being on top, is rotating this way, and so you want to have the wood with the grain coming up towards you, so that it doesn't chip out the wood quite so bad. The other things you can do if you notice that your wood is splintering a little bit is, first of all, make sure you're not taking a very thick cut. You don't have to make a thick cut. And if you're still getting that effect when you have a very thin cut, you can wet your board down just a little bit. You can just wet it down with a cloth or something, not soaked, but just a little bit. And that sometimes prevents it from chipping. Or you can also wax the bed here so it slides through more easily. Those are two tips you might want to try if you have that problem. Then, if you get down to 1/2 inch or less, which, with scroll sawing, we often want to have pretty thin stock to cut. For that, you really shouldn't crank this down lower than 1/2 inch, because it just is too tight on the board and does not cut as well. So, in general, it's been found that if you use something called an auxiliary bed, and I'll show you that here. So you can take a piece of melamine, usually at least 1/2 inch thick or even 3/4 inch thick, and you want to put stops on this back end And I put them on the sides here because our bed is even with the tabletop. If your bed is above the tabletop, you can just make the stop right on the end of the board. So what you do then is you slide this board in. And you slide that all the way until it's sitting there. And then you have to remember then that you have a 1/2 inch board in there, so you add that to the thickness. You can't trust your gauge here anymore. And so then you get your pieces ready and again, make it a little bit higher than your board so you're not cutting into too much. And then you can just feed it through there. And this auxiliary board can also help the problem with snipe. You don't get as much of that because it pulls it through on that nice flat surface. So you can get a board thinner than 1/10 of an inch on here with cutting with this auxiliary board. It works pretty well.
Yeah.
And I'll show you one other thing. If you're working on a small piece of wood that's shorter than 6 inches, 6 inches or shorter, it's not really safe to send that through. I mean, I suppose you could put it in there and push it through with a stick, but what happens then is the roller, once it gets past the first roller, it's going to tend to want to come up into the blade, and it will splinter that piece of wood. So what you can do is you make runners like this that are at least 1 foot long and basically the same thickness as your board. And it's best to glue those on. And then after the glue has set and is dried up, then you put that setup into your machine like this and run that through, and that can safely cut that smaller board to a thin size.
All right, Mike, I want to thank you for that. We can get back the screen here. Can you stop sharing, Mike, or you want to? I think you're muted. Am I the only one that's not muted?
Okay.
we
Sorry about that, but
Okay.
if anybody has any questions for myself or Steve, let us know. We'll be glad to answer any of them.
Roger, you're muted.
Okay. My planer, I find, the harder the woods, the less you have to take off. Sometimes you're only taking a few thousandths off at a time, and it does take a lot longer to do, but it gives you a nice smooth finish versus like a softer wood, you can usually take quite a bit more off at a time. But when I get down to my final cut, then I cut it way back. Works quite well.
Roger, if you had a piece of pine, could you take a 1/16 at a time, or?
You could.
Or would that be a lot?
I would take like about, I like to take it a little at a time, like a 30-second at a time on pine.
Yeah.
You can tell once your piece goes through what it looks like, whether to back off or not.
Yep.
But like your red oaks and stuff like that, you got to take it down quite a few times yet through it. So that's what I've found on mine. And you do have to have a good vacuum on it. You got to clear out those chips.
Oh.
That's so important.
Yeah.
So
Say, Mike.
Yeah.
First rule of table saws: never reach around the backside of a blade with a running table saw.
Yep, yep,
Turn that thing off before you ever reach around that. You'll never have that problem again.
yep, yep,
And the other thing is, put your blade guard back on your table saw.
yep.
Have two fingers. It should have two fingers in the back that are notched. That's your kickback guard.
Yep, yep. Yeah, I try to use that whenever I can, but a lot of times you got something that just won't fit in there, and the guard on that particular machine kind of gets in your way. But if it's wider, you're okay. But if you get down to say about an inch wide, boy, it's
Okay.
just, yeah, it's a problem there. But I do try to use it as much as I can. I
Okay,
wish it was
Mike,
just, go ahead.
There's an answer to that. If that's the problem, take about a 2-inch wide piece of scrap lumber.
All
Put
right,
an angle on either end, and set it on your fence. Just so your board will slide underneath, and that's your blade guard. Then make sure it hangs over both sides of the blade, and then when you run it through, then your hand is blocked from running into the blade.
all right,
That's what we used to do in the cabinet shop.
yeah.
And we had to do that quite often. I had ones that were sitting right there. I had them all made up and just sitting there ready to use.
Well, maybe I'll have to get a picture of that so I can put it in my mind and then design
Okay.
something. Yeah,
Another tip is to put a block in front of your blade attached to the fence, clamped to the fence. And so that when the wood piece hits the
Yes.
blade, it's open
Absolutely.
on the side, and then it won't bind. It won't bind against the fence. The board won't bind against the fence. Some guys, for you, you machinists in the crowd will be familiar with this. Some people use 1, 2, 3 blocks, which are
Oh,
kind of
absolutely.
One of the most important things, though, is to make sure that your blade is perfectly parallel to the fence.
Yes.
And if you do that and you keep the board tight against the fence, you're not going to have any kickback.
yep.
That's
Well,
one
if you
of the most important setup that you can do on the table saw, besides having, a square fence.
Yep.
Mike, do you use your dial indicator to square your blade and fence up?
Usually I use that electronic
No.
angle finder.
Check that it's the length, the length parallel to the saw blade.
Oh, no, I haven't used that recently. I should run
Yeah.
that down there on a board or something to see.
Well, actually, if you take your magnetic, depending on what kind of a guide you have, miter guide you have,
Yeah.
you can take that magnet and stick it right on that miter guide and use that to run up and down to check your fence with.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's a good idea.
I have a little mini mag, and I've done that a number of times.
Yep.
And you can also do your saw blade that way, and then you can check to see if that's straight.
Yep. Yep. That's probably a good idea. Put something on a guide and then push it along there. Yep.
Well, seeing as how
Yeah,
you and I have the magnetic pieces that
Yeah, a little magnetic thing.
they actually sell an indicator stand that rides in your miter slot.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, another thing too, you don't want to over tighten your blade either. If you do that,
Absolutely.
you're gonna get a difference as well.
You can warp
Yeah.
the blade.
Exactly. And that'll throw off all your measurements.
You should tighten the blade down only to the point to where because it's a left-handed thread, only to the point where you can't really move it. You shouldn't have to do it any more than that.
Yeah.
Right.
Because that'll, you know, the more you tighten it, the more wobble, because a blade, a saw blade, and especially the more inexpensive ones, they're tapered. So they're wider at the top than they are in the middle.
Right.
Yeah.
So if you start tightening them, you can actually work them quite easily.
And one easy way of checking that is on my gauge, I run it right into the gutter there. And I can put it right against my blade. As I turn my blade, I can tell if it's warped or not. Just real simple
Yeah.
thing to do.
I
Yeah.
use my dial indicator.
Well, that's what I've got, yeah.
It actually works pretty slick.
Yeah, it always lies though.
That's cheating.
No, it's
Yeah.
using what you got.
Right.
Seeing as though I have it, I might as well use it.
And then by
Yep.
doing that, once I've got my blade parallel to my table, then I can also turn that dial indicator around and do my fence.
Yeah, absolutely.
And
absolutely correct.
that'll make everything squared up.
Yeah.
And that'll stop a lot of kickbacks.
Yeah.
Yes.
But Mike, never reach around and grab a board on a running table saw, ever.
No, not
I
even
wasn't
with a saw
reaching. I
stop.
wasn't reaching around there. What I was doing, it kind of was balancing with that my push stick, and when it kind of dropped, it dropped back onto that stupid table, and it caught it, and I went, "Oh."
No. Usually I push mine through and let them drop on the floor.
Yeah, I'd have been better off just letting her go. Yeah, absolutely.
And the other thing, you know, if you don't have rollers, you can take a sawhorse and a
Yeah.
piece of plywood, clamp the piece of plywood to the sawhorse, and then you can slide, just make it so you can slide your piece slides right out onto the sawhorse.
Yeah.
You
On
talk,
the- on the-
Yeah.
you talk about a roller at the end of it. Instead of using a roller, I can flip mine over. It's got the ball bearings.
Mhm.
That way it doesn't, it'll go wherever it's gonna go,
Yeah.
where you can get a draw when you have a roller.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
I have a series of rollers. I have 2 or 3 of them.
Yep, it works real well.
Yep.
It only takes a couple of minutes to set something like that up, and that'll solve the
Absolutely.
problem for the most part.
Actually using a dial indicator to set up squareness on your blade and so on would make a good video.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Maybe Jeff, we're gonna have to make you do that with the dial indicator. Now, how
So-
many people have access to a planer or a jointer?
I've got a planer.
I've got both.
I've got both.
I
Yeah.
have just a planer.
Yeah.
I have both.
I got both.
Oh, good. Good.
There's also an interesting technique for using it's a little putsy, but using a planer as a jointer by using a sled and then shimming up your board so that they don't wobble as you push it through push it through.
Yeah.
Similar to the auxiliary sled that you guys were demonstrating.
Yeah. Yeah.
Problem with that is you can usually get usually don't have a whole lot of your height wise as far as doing that. You kind of lose
Yeah.
a little bit.
Or you can go
Fine.
old school and just use a hand planer.
I've done that
Yeah.
a lot of times.
I've been there too.
Actually, sometimes I think that's almost easier sometimes, especially if you got a rough board and you want something you're starting with. You get a square edge, and at least you can get a parallel edge to it, and then straighten from there once you get the
Yeah.
Right.
Using a planer, I've had trouble removing a cup of a wider board. The pinch rollers,
Straighten it
straighten out the board
Yep,
when it cuts, and when it comes back out,
it's still cupped.
it's still cupped. Yeah.
That's why you need to start with a jointer first and get one flat side and run that flat side through first.
Yep.
Yeah,
Hey, I want to thank Mike and Steve for putting those videos together. Nice job, guys.
you bet.
Real good information. I wish I had a joiner or a planer, but maybe I'll get one or two someday. So I don't know if we have a plan for next month's presentation.
Are we gonna do show and tell?
Yeah, I was just going to talk to that, go to that next.
Oh, I've been thinking about a couple things. One was maybe have people look on the internet and pick up something like good ideas that I got from the internet or from YouTube, and we could show them. And so I've got a few videos. Danny Judd sent me one that was, I thought, a good idea, and just things that we could either make or good suggestions or stuff. There's a ton of stuff on YouTube, and so I thought I'd put that together.
Okay.
That's kind of my idea for next month. And then we'll be off for the summer, and then by September, hopefully we can get back together and we'll have something in person again.
That'd be great.
Yep.
Okay, thanks for that, Mike. Yeah, now we
send our idea, just a minute. Do we send our ideas to Mike?
yes.
Yeah, go ahead and send anything you've got, a link or whatever to a video, and I'll look at it, and then we'll see if we could incorporate some of it. I won't necessarily show all of a video, but maybe I can just take a little snippet from this one and a snippet from that one, and I'll put them all together in one video.
That would be cool.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Now I'm ready to go on to show and tell. Looks like Don Gore wants to show off his new putter there. I don't know what he's doing there. I can't hear you, Don. You're muted.
I didn't know you could see it.
Yeah, you were showing. I thought you were showing it off. What do you got there?
It's a ping. It's the new ping adjustable handle.
Oh.
Adjusts length. I'm getting tired of bending over. My knees are getting hard to bend over and pick that ball out of the cup.
Oh, okay.
That's built to go down in the cup and pick the ball up.
Oh, you have to pull a flag on him. Okay. All right.
Looks like Mike Zink has his hand up.
Oh.
Anyone else? Wait a second.
Yeah, raise your hand if you've got something to show.
Mike Zink?
Okay, let me change my background to none. All right.
And Steve, you'll be on board. Steve Harder.
All right, so here's my things for this month. I made these smiley faces out of some of the wood that I've gotten from Ray over the years. This piece anyway. And then I had gotten some wood from a friend of mine, and he had some old, what would you call them, plaques that were from the year 2006 that nobody ever used, and they were made of walnut, and he asked me if I wanted it, and I said, sure, I'll take it. And so I made, a good dozen almost of these out of the walnut. This is glue. It's two-part epoxy glue, and then you add a colorant to it. And so it dries overnight, and then you can sand it right off. Works real good.
What's the finish on that, Mike? It's shiny.
Oh, I put gloss, polyurethane, water base.
Thanks.
And I usually put about 6 coats on each side, and that works, gets everything is nice and smooth then and works real nice.
Do you do anything between coats?
Usually I'll sand it with like 600 or 800 grit paper, just go lightly over it if there's any of those little nibs on there, and that kind of gets it pretty good.
Okay, thanks.
Yep.
I keep losing. There he is. Steve Harder? Are you
muted?
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay, I will see if I can share a couple pictures here.
Carl's on board, by the way.
So I've been making some jigsaw puzzles, very basic for toddler age preschoolers. I made this one that has on the background colored painted in shapes of the puzzle piece. And that way, I'll show you the next picture. You can match the color on the number with the color on the background. And that will help the child learn both the number and the color that goes with that number. So I scroll saw these so that the number is cut out and shows through to the background. And the little circles I made with the Forstner bit and then painted those in so they match the color in the background. And so then you've got, let's see, where's the other one? So the finished product looks like that. So little toddler preschooler can learn their numbers and their colors and how to put the puzzle together. Let's see, so now gonna stop sharing here. So that's the one thing. The other thing I've been trying to work on is, I don't know, I'm kind of new to this club. I don't know if any of you have seen, I found this book at the library about wooden,
Oh, yes.
wooden bowls, how to make wooden bowls from the scroll saw. And so I've been trying that. It's kind of an interesting process. You take a board and you draw concentric circles on the board with your compass. And then what you have to do then is cut each concentric circle at an angle between 20 and 45 degrees according to the thickness of the wood and the width of the ring. And then when you stack those rings up, you get something that looks sort of like this. It's a bowl like that. And it's a little rough on the outside, but then you can use a spindle sander and sand both the inside and the outside smooth. So then you get a bowl looking more, a little bit more sanded up here. I don't have either of these completely finished yet, but can see how you can match that grain coming around the board. It looks really nice. And I'm hoping that once it gets some finish on, it'll look really nice. So those are the two things I've been working on.
Steve, I always have trouble drilling the start hole at an angle. You got any tips for that?
Well, what I do with that is I take a scrap piece of exactly the same angle on the scroll saw. And it's a block about, maybe 2 inches wide and 3 inches long. So I even use a little clamp that down the board. And then I use that to direct my drill. I just use a little piece of wood.
I can tilt the table on my drill press and I can drill at that angle. I've made some bowls too. I got that same book, Steve, and here's one. Here's I don't know if you can see it very good, but here's one of the bowls I've made. And
okay.
so yeah, they're fun to make.
AD, were you at that? You were at that deal with Sweet, didn't you, when we made the bowls?
Yes, I was, but I don't have those boards that are cut at an angle. I have to do that.
Oh, I was gonna say, do you have one of those little electronic deals, those miter?
No.
Okay, never mind.
You talking about those little digital angle?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Those are,
you put those, you can put those on the drill bit and set your angle.
yeah.
The other thing that I find is when I've had a number of puzzles that I've had to drill and cut at angles. And so I've got a little fixture that I made up that holds the boards, but it's tilted at 5 degrees. So I can leave the table of my drill bit square because it's a real pain to adjust it. And then I've got a little fixture that I just mount things on that has the right angle. So I just made a piece out of scrap wood, since I repeat 5 degrees fairly often and 8 degrees and things like that.
I use my Dremel drill press stand because I can rotate that Dremel about 360 degrees. So that makes it pretty easy. I can.
Anyone, Carl, or you, Roger, you have your hand up.
Oh, I had my hand up. I took it off.
All right, right, Carl, it's your turn.
All right. Hadn't been scroll signing much, but I finally decided to do this. So this is, I didn't like the way this color came out because my spray gun, I'm having problems with my spray gun and it's sputtering. And I also didn't like this color here. It was purple as opposed to a Merlot. And so I made, now I'm on my second one, which is a little bit more a Merlot, but this time here I'm leaving the, leaving it. And right now I'm in the process of putting the top coat on it. So now I've got 2 of these, and one I'm going to keep and one I'm going to give as a gift.
Have you considered using real Merlot as your color?
I don't know. I'd rather drink it than use it as a stain. And another thing too, you know, people talk about people make coats for all their glue bottles and sticks and stuff like that. This is pretty cheap because you just go to your home your wine store and get a box that of wine glasses or beers, and then you can put all your stuff that you can tote around and keep all your brushes and all your glue bottles in.
Wow.
I see a theme here with the Merlot and the.
Yep. All right, that's what I have.
Okay, Roger. Oh, Roger's got a bunny.
Rabbit, yeah.
Are you muted, Roger?
There we go. Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, okay. I just made a couple rabbits, you know, being Easter time, give to the grandkids. This is made out of aspen. And it cuts fairly good. You know, you just have to clean it up a little bit, but it was just kind of a fun thing to do for the
Cool.
grandkids.
Yeah.
Is that 3/4 inch?
Yes.
Yeah.
That way they stand up nice. It was just a fun little project to do.
Yeah, you got 2, you'll have more.
Kind of finished.
So I got 10 grandkids and 1 great grandchild, so I made a few.
What kind of finish do you use on those?
I have no finish at all on it right now.
Oh, okay.
I just gave them to the neighbor kids and stuff like that. They can paint them or whatever they want to do. You know, so just give them a little project to do. Across the street, we got a set of triplets, so, and they're about 1.5 years old, so that'll be interesting to see what they look like.
I don't see any other hands. Does anyone else have? Oh, Reed's got something. Let me find you, Reed. There you are. Okay, let me wait, Reed, I think you're muted.
We've been doing a lot of jigsaw puzzles over COVID and stuff, and finally I decided I wanted to try a 3D puzzle, which you can kind of see in the background here. And it's the Hogwarts castle from Harry Potter. But as I was doing it, I realized that the pieces are all two-dimensional and they'd be amenable to scroll sawing. And so you could design something that that might be three-dimensional with the scroll saw, piece it together in a manner similar to how these 3D puzzles go together. And I'm thinking about trying something like that, and because I mean these things are gorgeous, and I also, in the process of doing that, I was kind of curious to find out if there were any, if anybody rated 3D puzzles. And I went out and I found out that there's a company that's actually out of the Ukraine called U-Gears, and they make laser cut 3D puzzles like this, and they're really quite remarkable. And as it happens, we were selling a couple over the holiday period at the store, and there were a couple left, and so I grabbed one once I found out that they were good. but it occurred to me that this is kind of a whole different take on scroll sawing, of moving from 2 dimensions to 3, in almost like fret sawing in a sense.
Reed, where'd you get your Hogwarts pattern?
I got it at Costco. It was $22, and what I showed there is only half of it. The other half, it's about, when it's complete, it's about 3 feet by almost 4 feet. It's enormous, but it's really been fun. I'm about 3/4 of the way done with it now, maybe a little bit more.
Are you using that automatic router?
No, this is all just pull it out of this is foam core. But you could use and after doing this, working on this for the last last week or so, I thought, well, I might try something with the scroll saw. And it could either be, it could be wood, could be foam core. Foam core works really well, actually. Anyway, just an idea.
One of the earlier models that they put out with some of these was a Frankenstein style lever switch, the big ones like that, all made out of basically fretwork cut pieces. And the mechanism on the inside just flipped your light switch on and off. But what you had mounted on the wall was a great big lever that you go back and forth. So there's some groups that have been doing these for quite a while with lots of weird ideas.
That is kind of neat, though.
They also have those 3D roller balls, they steel balls, and the mechanism that puts them up and they go down and around.
Does anyone else have a show and tell?
I've got something.
John.
I few years ago I made a bunch of these to give to the kids. It's a popsicle stick, and I cut out a rabbit with put ears on it.
Yeah, that's really cute.
You got a string on the back of that, or what do you?
A string with a straw. The string runs through.
Wow. Cool.
Anyone else?
Well, I think
is there any?
Katie, show off your shirt.
What?
I have your shirt too.
Oh, yeah, well, if you
You're showing
give
up-
blood,
you're
if you
showing
give blood,
telling, yeah.
give blood, you get a good shirt. Does everybody know how to raise their hand by clicking on the reaction button at the bottom of their screen? Is there anybody who does not have that or have a way to raise their hand?
I had mine clicked, but you must not have seen it.
I didn't.
Well, Katie, tell me about your show and tell behind you there.
Oh, that is one of my earlier pieces. It's a sea turtle.
Yeah,
Beautiful.
beautiful.
I brought, we had a party at our house, a family party, and I brought some patterns and pictures of potential products and let people pick what they wanted. And my niece picked this great big sea turtle.
Wow.
Very nice.
Thank you.
I have a question. How do you, when you put yourself on the reactions, there's a hand to clap, a one to say thumbs up. Is that the one you wanted me to choose?
No, you just click on raise hand.
I do not have a raise hand.
She's
Up at the
still
top.
got the old software.
Oh, then put it on the clap.
Okay, the clap, okay, with that, then you would.
Try
know,
that,
right?
or else go to participants, click on participants and go to
Uh-huh.
the bottom of that screen, and there should say raise hand there.
Gosh,
If it's an older, if it's an older,
I clicked on it on the old one and it's not giving me a raised hand.
are there little 3 dots or somewhere that says more?
Let me see. Okay, let me see. It's the only thing that's coming up when I click on participants on the bottom is invite or something.
When I click on participants, I got an older version of the software. A list comes up of names, and at the bottom of the list is raise hands.
Oh, okay.
And printed on the bottom.
Well, I just not seeing that.
Yeah, mine can have, I don't have the raise hand on the bottom of the participants.
Nor does mine.
But
I
I,
have to click on more.
I do have it under reactions.
Right.
Oh, you don't have the little 3 dots that says more and then the 3 dots underneath more?
I don't. I don't know if Rowan.
No, I don't see that on the participants list.
Me either.
No, it's right up, mine is right up at the, I have an iPad. Mine's right up at the top of that bar. So when I hit it, I got mute, stop video, share content, participants, and then right next to that, I have more, and it has 3 dots right on top of it.
That's
don't have
for the Apple product.
Next time I'm at your house, Chris, I'll check it out.
Thanks.
Okay, well, if there's no more, we can just have a couple other things to mention. Of course, our next meeting will be Saturday, May 1st. I want to just say that I'd like to encourage people to get on our Facebook group page. And right now we have 59 members on that group. A lot of those aren't members of our club, and I don't know. They're just there's friends of our club. I guess for a lot of them, but that's fine. I'm also looking for someone who would like to take over on that on the Facebook page to when there's somebody that wants to join the group, we'd like to vet those people that are coming on a little bit, so we have to approve them. And I'd like somebody to step forward to be a moderator to go ahead and approve new people that want to join the group. I've been doing that a little bit, and I haven't done it very well. So I'd like somebody that could maybe step in and review people that are requesting to be participants and members of the group to approve them.
I-
I usually sent out when somebody asked to be on the group, I sent out a note to them within that tool and just say, just tell me a little bit about yourself to find out who they are and why they're interested. So,
I've done a little bit of it and I will continue to try. I'm not very good at it either. I don't get I look them up in Facebook and I don't find them. But I can do a private message on Messenger.
yeah, and that's what I've done too. Sometimes I get a response and then I'll approve them. If I don't get a response at all, then I just let it go. So, and
Right.
sometimes I just disapprove them or whatever and they go away. But
Are some of these people that we don't know that's on the Facebook page, are they people from the Scroll Saw Picnic?
No, there are people who have either seen our website or
Okay.
our group is
All right.
public. They just come in and they request membership. Some people request membership to every group they ever see, and that's why we ask the question. But I would expect that they had some interest in scroll sawing.
Yep.
That's what I would ask.
yeah, some people just want to watch what's going on and that's fine. We don't have any
No,
problem.
I get that part. I was just curious whether or not we had some people that, like from Wisconsin and down in Iowa and stuff that connected with the Scroll Saw Picnic.
Oh, I see.
I was just curious.
We have some people from England, I think, and maybe Australia. and they've shown some of their work, not very often, but I've gone in and looked at what they've done, and some of them are very accomplished in sawing and so forth. So
Well, I have a couple of groups. One of them is England. Another one we get that's more Europe in general.
Yep.
Can I ask a question on how to update the Zoom application I have so that I could be?
I'll help you with that later, Chris.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
Okay. Other than that, I don't have anything more. I want to wish everybody a happy Easter. It's a beautiful weekend for it, and we'll have an Easter egg hunt in my backyard tomorrow with probably about 5 grandchildren around. So again, enjoy the weekend. I can ask for a motion to adjourn.
Move.
So moved.
Second.
All right.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
It'll stay on for a little while.
Yep, you can hang around if you want. Otherwise, thanks for being here.
All right.
Thanks, Warren.